Am I the a-hole for my response when my colleague said I was emasculating my husband? I'm female 36, married with 3 kids, work in this company for 4 years. I transferred to another department and met new colleagues. We were having lunch days ago and small chats when my husband called asking where I put the ceramic pan. I told him where to find it and ended a call. My new colleague Ross, 40s, married with no kids, calling him passive-aggressive is the nicest thing you can say about him, was looking confused throughout the phone call. Then he asked if my husband cooks. I said yes. Not just cooks, but he also cleans, take care of the dishwashing, floor mopping, toilet scrubbing, grocery shopping, and deep cleaning rooms once a week. Ross started laughing as I went on and listed the things my husband does, then casually asked who's the man in the house then if my husband's busy being the housewife. I just glanced at him to explain as my colleagues kept staring. Ross said, "Okay, there's a man in the house, all right. And I'm thinking it's you, since you've emasculated your husband to the point of mopping the floor." Others laughed. I said no, we're just splitting duties. And since I'm the current breadwinner, he took it upon himself to help make things balanced after he lost his job. My other female colleague pointed out that I'm lucky my husband believes in partnership, unlike most husbands, which is a global issue. Ross said that I was indeed lucky to find a man with little to no self-esteem to be gleefully and passionately taking on a role of a homemaker like that. I was shocked and got extremely agitated after he proceeded to say that he was 100% sure my husband no longer feels like the man he used to be before losing his job. He called him poor soul and sarcastically hoped he at least still gets to keep his manhood in the bedroom. I was about to yell, but kept it civil and looked at him and said, "Oh, don't worry. He's doing just fine in the bedroom because he's always been enough of a man for me. And as a result, we have 3 kids. 3 kids while he, Ross, on the other hand." Everyone stopped for a second, and Ross had a shocked look on his face. Then lost it, saying it was insensitive and pathetic of me for bringing his infertility in an argument, and used it as a low blow and said that I should feel ashamed of myself for bragging about my kids, knowing that he can't have children for reasons he cannot control. I replied that he should feel ashamed of how he was talking about my husband, and told him maybe it's better that he just stop getting himself involved in other people's business. He doubled down, saying he gets to get himself involved in whatever and wherever he wants, because it's a free country. Other colleagues started getting involved as the argument escalated. Ross told me he will make sure to let HR know about the lovely conversation we had, and walked away like he dropped some sort of bomb on me. I got a lot of heat from his guy friends, but one female colleague said Ross was rude, but I took too far with what I said. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I have nothing against infertility, and I know how devastating it is for families who want to have kids. I have 3 infertile close loved ones, and I feel secondhand devastation for their pain and suffering. I myself had my share of pregnancy issues in the past, and I'm blessed even though my oldest has a chronic condition. People are saying I shouldn't have engaged further in the conversation, and the reason was because of how he was acting in his use of words, implying that I'm being unfair to my husband, and using his job loss to gain advantage. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why is it a free country when he wants to share his opinion of your situation, but is not okay the other way around? I have no clue, honestly. He just threw his phrase in my face as it was supposed to shut me up or something. It was a weird statement, and obviously a lame excuse. Not the a-hole. An old saying comes to mind. Don't dish it out if you can't take it. Dish it out? Are you implying Ross would have anything to do with dishes? He is a man. I think Opie was tactless. I said yes, not just cooks, but he also cleans, takes care of the dishwashing, floor mopping, toilet scrubbing, grocery shopping, and deep cleaning rooms once a week. Who and why describes housework in that much detail? Toilet scrubbing? Deep cleaning? There's nothing to be gained by that. And it sounds, I don't know, demeaning. Flipping genders. My wife scrubs the toilets. I mean, maybe it's true, but does it really need to be discussed at work? A homemaker of any gender is assumed to be doing housework. Oh, don't worry, he's doing just fine in the bedroom because he's always been enough of a man for me. Inappropriate for the workplace. Everything Ross said was also inappropriate for the workplace. I suggest both Opie and Ross learn some boundaries about what depth to go into about personal matters while chatting in the workplace. Everyone sucks here. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my wife name our baby after her deceased coworker? My 30 male wife, 30 female, is pregnant with our first child. We recently found out that we're having a little baby boy. A few weeks ago, we decided to write down all the boy names we like, make a priority list, and then let the names simmer for a couple of weeks before we make any judgment calls. Now, I know the names my wife likes. If I'm being completely honest, they're usually very southern and attempting to be modern. Think the name Kaysen or Braxton. Both names were on the list. However, at the top of her list and one with a high priority was the name Scott. Now, no hate to the name Scott, just very out of left field for her. She told me how much she loved it and how it meant a lot to her, and when I questioned her on it, she didn't really say much more. I actually loved the name Scott, so I kept it number 1, and it was also at the top of my simmer list, as we had been calling it. Well, yesterday we ended the simmer period, and both decided on the name Scott Kanan. Both names were number 1 in our lists, and we were over the moon. As we were going to bed, I asked how she thought of the name Scott, and she admitted to me that now that I set it in stone that she felt more comfortable telling me. There was an older man she apparently worked with, who I had never heard of before, that she really loved named Scott. She said she was 66 and gave her a lot of life advice and guidance, but died last year due to being immunocompromised. After she said this to me, I became completely uncomfortable. I don't want our baby named after a dead coworker of hers I've never met. I asked if she asked his family if it was okay, and she said she's never met his family and doesn't think it's necessary. The whole thing is just so bizarre to me considering I've never heard of this guy before. She mentioned the passing of a coworker last year, and I knew she was sad, but she never said much more than that. Long story short, I told her we're not naming our baby Scott because I don't feel comfortable with it. She immediately got mad at me, and it turned into a big argument. I had her mom and sisters call me today saying I liked the name before, but that I was being a jerk over some old dude, and my wife won't talk to me now. Even love the name Scott. I just don't like naming our baby my wife's dead co-worker I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just for clarification, I would not mind keeping the name Scott, and I have communicated this to my wife, if she would tell me about him so I know who we're naming our child after. She won't tell me anything past that he was a mentor to her. No other details. As well, I was mainly upset because I felt like I was tricked into the name, because she withheld obvious intent with its meaning. I would have probably been a lot less confused or weirded out if she would have just explained that before. But since she will not talk to me about Scott, it is essentially stonewalling me until I give in. I feel as if I may not be the a-hole here. I will take my judgments as they come, but there's more of my side of the story. I just want to clarify the permission from the family thing. She wants to actively make posts linking to his Facebook about our child's growth and development. I feel like it was a little weird to do without asking his family if they're comfortable with that, especially since they've never met. That's why I thought she knew his family, because she was telling me the hashtag she created for it and everything. I realize I may be in the minority here, but I say not the a-hole. Frankly, I think it's telling she didn't share the meaning or importance to her until you settled on the name. It seems like she knew you wouldn't be okay with it, and that's why she didn't tell you until you'd accepted it. That is not okay. Since it sounds to me like if you'd had that information from the beginning that you wouldn't have settled on it, that exonerates you in my mind. She, on the other hand, lied. You directly asked her where it came from, and she didn't tell you. She is the a-hole here in my opinion. Not the a-hole. Yeah, this. She wanted the name for a serious reason she didn't disclose, and then went, phew, got what I want, so now I can say a little about it. At this point, I'd have trouble believing that what she said is the entire truth. Come on, all you YTA people. Really? How many of you are planning to name your kid after a freaking co-worker? If I had to pick between Kaysen, Braxton, and late coworker Jr., I'd be relieved to have the third option. Okay, this is bizarre, but I think I can put my finger in why you're weirded out. For whatever reason, your wife seems to have gone through a significant loss that you were not at all in tune with. You stated you briefly mentioned losing a coworker, but clearly you had no idea that he had this much of an impact on her life. I think it's completely understandable why she would want to name your son after this man. On the other hand, it's definitely weird that this is the first time you're hearing about your child's namesake. I would suggest sitting your wife down and genuinely asking her why she didn't want to share with you something that clearly affected her so deeply. Obviously, everyone has the right to keep things private, but maybe she's just not a big talker, which is fine. But it's okay to be surprised by this and to have questions. No a-holes here, but I think you guys just need to communicate. When I say she briefly mentioned it, I mean the day passed we were on a car drive to visit her family and she said, "Oh my god, my coworker died," as she saw a post on his Facebook. That was it. Nothing more. Didn't mention his name, no tears or sadness. More shock than anything. And I was with her 24/7 the entire weekend after, and she seemed fine. It never brought it up again. I've been with her for 8 years and know how she handles deaths of those she's close to, and it was nothing like she did with him. That is why the whole thing was bizarre. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for locking my friend's boyfriend out so he can't have a midnight bath at my house?" To give a small background on my friend, female 23, and her boyfriend, male 22, they have been together for 3 years and none of our friends particularly like him. He is a peculiar guy and none of us really are able to hold a conversation with him. He has also been extremely irresponsible before when he has been in our home when we're not in, leaving the front door unlocked and leaving bottom floor windows open. In our household, it is me, female 23, my housemate, male 24, and my friend. My friend went on a holiday for 2 weeks. She told us she left a key and that he might pop in. When she told us this, we presumed he might come over to eat the rest of her food or pick some stuff up. My housemate works nights, so when I come back from work, it's just me on my own. I'm really cautious about keeping everything locked. Also, when I'm on my own, walk naked too, and from the bathroom. My housemate and I both started to notice things moving around the house during the period our friend was away, so I felt really confused as to whether he was still in the house or not. On one of the evenings, I was on my own and it was about 20 to 12, and I was getting ready for bed and suddenly I hear the door open. I freaked out and thought a freaking stranger was in my home. It was her boyfriend. I asked him why he was here and why he hadn't told us he was coming over, and he just said he wanted a bath. I told him it was late, and he should have messaged me. He sort of chuckled about being in our house the other day, and none of us knew, which made me feel furious. When my housemate came in from his night shift, he told me the front door has been unlocked all night, which made him panic and check if everything was okay in our house, only to find a boyfriend wandering around. Last night he came over, I was on my own again, and I chose to deadbolt the door. I wanted to be left alone, feel safe in my house. So again, but this time at midnight, I heard him trying the door. He texted me asking if I was in, but I just ignored him. We then received a text from our friend asking us not to lock him out. I replied saying we didn't mind him coming over, but he should tell us and not do it so late. He left the door unlocked, etc. She said she would talk to him, but to just let him in. I lied that we wouldn't be in, so it was all locked and he wouldn't be able to get in, and to tell him. She then just said she understands it's probably annoying him coming over, but we obviously want our place to be somewhere our boyfriends can turn to when they need it. I went back that night, locked myself in, played Sims, and got drunk safe in the knowledge he couldn't get in. Now I can imagine you're probably wondering why I felt the need to come over. His heating and water were fine. He said it was because he didn't like his neighbors. To clarify, he also has another home, but chooses to illegally sublet it for extra income. Not today home. Sounds like he's enjoying the power and the effect he has on you and is deliberately creeping you out. Keep locking him out. It's not his place. Check your lease to see if it's allowed to let other people have keys to the space. Consider finding a new place to live, as it's clear your friend doesn't understand the impact her boyfriend is having. Totally agree. He is doing this deliberately because he finds her unease and is amusing. If it was me, I would be concerned that his creepy behavior might escalate, but I would argue that he should be allowed in their home even when his girlfriend is with him. The fact that he came over in the middle of the night when he knew Opie was there alone, I'm assuming he's familiar with their schedules, is very unsettling and what he's doing seems violating. Not today home. Frankly, what this all comes down to for me is, it is absolutely not okay to have guests over if you yourself are not there. That just seems really wrong to me. Like, sure, she has a right to have her boyfriend over when she is there, but if she isn't there, he shouldn't be there. Barring emergencies, of course. Any bath isn't an emergency. Who gives out a freaking key to a shared house? Was that discussed anywhere? We then received a text from our friend asking us not to lock him out. Replied to that text a firm no. Her boyfriend doesn't live at your house. He is not allowed to have a key. He is not allowed in except as a guest, and only when she is at home. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not punishing my son? I, 41 male, have a son, 12 male, that lives with me. His mother passed away a year ago from breast cancer. He attends school nearby and is doing well. I'm very proud of how well my son is doing in school, and happy that he hangs with good kids. I have been with my girlfriend, 42 female, for a few months now, and she and son get along. Son and I have a very close relationship. We spend a lot of time together. He is doing well in school and he has not gotten in any trouble since attending. Son comes home from school to let me know that he got detention the next day in the afternoon. I ask him why, and he tells me that he stopped a kid from bullying and pushed the kid when he got in his face. A teacher walked by and he saw Son pushing the kid. Son was really upset that he got detention, and I let him know that I am in his corner. Girlfriend came over for dinner and heard about the detention. She looks at me and says Son got detention? Shouldn't he be getting punished? I look at girlfriend and tell her that it was a different circumstance, and Son was not getting any further punishments. She frowns and tells me that Son got in trouble, he should be getting punished. Am I the a-hole for not punishing my son? Not the a-hole. He shouldn't be punished for doing the right thing, in a way that I think is reasonable. If anything, I'd be headed to school to stop the detention from happening with the whole story. Bring all the kids in with the principal and get it worked out. As for your girlfriend, she's not the parent and doesn't get a say. If she isn't comfortable with that, are you comfortable continuing the relationship? School no doubt has a zero-tolerance policy. Everybody gets in trouble no matter who starts it. Zero tolerance is oddly commonplace despite being morally reprehensible. Not the a-hole. Detention is the, in my opinion, undeserved punishment. He will serve detention and then it's over. The only punishment he should get from dad for stopping that kid is a new video game or his favorite pizza for dinner after detention. My daughter knows that if she stands up to these types, she may get in trouble at school but never at home. If it is so bad she needs to step in and defend herself or others, it's a failure of the adults at the school, not the kids that have stepped in and look out for others.